Gianluca Rottura from In Vino Veritas on Manhattan's Upper East Side, East 74th Street and First Avenue. In Vino Veritas means in wine there's truth. And the truth is, today we're going to try some really great wines. Today we'll be discussing the wines of Piemonte. In English, it's known as Piedmont. It's in the northwest part of Italy, bordering France. It's a very foggy kind of climate, cold. What they're most known for is a red grape called Nebbiolo. Nebbiolo comes from the Italian word nebbia, which means fog. The reason why is because it's a late ripening grape. So by the time harvest time comes, in October, November, there's that fog that covers the vineyards. And in fact, sometimes when you watch soccer games of the team called Juventus, which is either the most loved or the most hated team in all of Italy, you can see fog covering the whole field. So the word Nebbiolo comes from that word nebbia. Nebbiolo is a grape which is capable of producing some of the best wines in the world. It's most noted for a wine called Barolo. Barolo is a small town in Piemonte. The Barolo wines made from Nebbiolo grapes tend to be austere when they're young, but very gamey, leathery, tobacco, herbal, has a kind of a tar characteristic. Now that may sound off-putting, but for wine drinkers, it's absolute heaven. There's nothing like it. And the wines are capable of aging for 10, 15, 20, 50 years. It's a type of wine you want to have with pasta dishes with truffles, heavy dishes with a lot of cream and cheese, because that's what they eat there in Piemonte. Totally different than Sicily, for instance. This one from Vieti, which is one of my favorite producers, one of the best producers in the world, is Vieti. They make an outstanding Barolo. They make many outstanding Barolos. Another wine from Piemonte, which is very good, is called Barbaresco. Barbaresco is another town next to Barolo. It's a very similar type of wine to Barolo. They're made nearby, same grape, and very similar. Generally, Barbaresco tends to be a little fruitier and easy drinking, but that's not always the case. But either way, if you have Barbaresco, you're guaranteed to have a really great wine. Produttori del Barbaresco, this wine is made by a bunch of wine growers that get together and make it. And it's really great because some of the best winemakers of that region make this wine. Both Barolo and Barbaresco tend to be very expensive. The grape Nebbiolo is very hard to grow. When you're dealing with grapes which can crack, burst, once that juice comes out, it spoils the rest of the batch. So you're dealing with a very hard grape. That's why they cost so much. Also, the land is very expensive. The climate can be ideal for that grape. But if you want an inexpensive Barolo, or let's say an inexpensive Barbaresco, you would just get a basic Nebbiolo from either the Langhe, which is in Piemonte, or just Nebbiolo from Roero Arnese, Arnese is another grape we'll be talking about later. Nebbiolo wines, you can typically get a good Nebbiolo for about 20 bucks. Barolo, on the other hand, you'll be lucky if you find a good one for 40. We do have it because we select great wines, I must say. But it's very hard to find inexpensive Barolo. So if you like the taste of good Barolo, you should focus your attention on Nebbiolo. Another grape that Piemonte is known for is called Barbera. It's a workhorse. It produces a lot of juice, a lot of grapes and a lot of juice. It's an easy drinking wine if you like acidity. So therefore, because it's acidic, you want to pair it with food. Pasta and tomato sauce is one of the best dishes you can have with Barbera. It's a good, dry, cherry-scented wine, cherry-tasting wine. A lot of wines, by the way, when you hear wine people talk, most of them are full of shit. But usually, when you hear the word cherry, if they're not lying, it is true. I must say a lot of wines do have cherry hints. The rest are probably lying, but cherry is a word that will appear often. Another great wine is called Dolcetto. Dolcetto means little sweet one. It's not really sweet, but it does have some kind of sweet flavors that finish dry. It's known for its bitter cherry taste. It's a wine that goes great with pasta and beans. If you have digestion problems, you might not want to have pasta and beans, but you can always have Dolcetto because it's a great wine and great with white meats and other poultry. There's a red grape called Bracchetto. Bracchetto, however, doesn't produce the typical dry red wine in Piemonte. It produces a sparkling sweet wine, which is great for before or after dinner. before dinner to get the event started, or after dinner to finish it off. It's really great. It's noted for its strawberry flavor. And it's a wine that has been gaining a lot of popularity in the past few years. Bracchetto d'Acqui. It's something you should look into. One of the best white grapes in all of Piemonte is called Arnese. Arnese in Piemontese dialect means difficult. The reason why is because the grape is very difficult to grow. But when they do manage to grow it, they end up making some really, really great wines with flavors of apples, pears, and has a little herbal quality to it. And it's a great wine that goes with pesto. Pesto is a very popular dish, and this is a wine that goes great with pesto. The Moscato grape is one of the most popular grapes in the world. Moscato usually makes dessert wines, but in Piemonte, they use it to make slightly sweet, but also slightly sparkling wines. The most famous ones are Moscato d'Asti, Asti being a town, or Asti Spumante. They're very similar wines. They both have apricot, peachy type of flavors that go great before dinner. If you're going to have it with food, it goes great with fried foods because it's a little sweet with the apricot, peachy kind of flavors. It goes well with fried and salty foods to balance it out. Believe it or not, one of the few dessert wines that I would ever have, it's not really a dessert wine, but one of the few dessert wines that I would have with dessert would be Moscato d'Asti because it's not cloyingly sweet. Just a touch. And in fact, it goes great with panettone, which is a northern Italian, by now Italian cake that they have for Christmas and also for Easter. Moscato d'Asti happens to be frizzante, which means slightly sparkling. Asti Spumante is the next level in sparkling, and it's a little more body and a little more bubbles. Both are great before, during, or after dinner. Another red wine from Piemonte, which unfortunately I don't have right now, is called Gattinara. Gattinara is also made from Nebbiolo, just like Barolo and Barbaresco is. Gattinara wines tend to be a little more elegant and a little more refined tasting. So if you're looking for, and it's also inexpensive, so if you're looking for a good Nebbiolo-based wine, Gattinara is definitely a sure bet. There's another grape that I want to talk about because we need to clear this up. There's a grape called Bonarda. Bonarda is known in a few different countries because they grow it there. But even in Italy itself, it gets kind of confusing. The original Bonarda is from Piemonte, period. That Bonarda grape, when it's grown in Lombardia and Emilia-Romagna, is called uva rara. But in the Lombardia region, there's a place called Oltrepo Pavese, and in the Emilia-Romagna region, there's a place called Colli Piagentini. In that area, Bonarda is actually the Croatina grape, but they call it Bonarda, I don't know why. Then there's also Bonarda from Argentina, which is completely different and not related to any of them. However, it may be related to California's Charbono grape, which in a weird way supposedly may be related to the Dolcetto grape. But that's a story on Bonarda. It's hard to find, but the wines are good.